Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. And picking up from where we left off last night, tonight I'm going to be reviewing Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn. There's not much else I can really say to intro this film, aside from the fact that that I actually went into this knowing about the whole controversy at the very beginning of the film, where there's this prologue with different actors that made everybody think that like Ash went to the cabin a second time. And it's funny because I actually got into an argument with one of my college film teachers about this, where he was saying that the gimmick of the series is that Ash just gets stupider and stupider as the films go on. And while that in and of itself is debatable, he also said that the reason why he gets stupider is because he keeps on going back to the cabin. For that, I have to disagree, because I'm pretty sure I heard in like one of the commentaries that Bruce and Sam were saying that like the reason why they had to use different actors for the prologue is because like they did not have the rights to their original film. They had to shoot like a brand new recap using different actors. And that's why that's why people thought that Ash went back to the cabin a second time. But time to talk about like the actual film. So starting off with what I liked about this movie, like it's basically gonna be piggybacking off of the first film. But again, I liked how like minimal Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell were able to work with like a small budget here. Like obviously they had a bit of a bigger budget for this movie. I mean, that does kind of show in the final product, because like back in the first film, like they were literally confined to just the cabin. But in Evil Dead 2, like you see snippets of what will eventually be Castle Kandar in Army of Darkness, as well as this one segment that introduces Professor Nobi's daughter Annie, and I think her boyfriend, or at least an associate of the Nobis, where like they're just stepping off of a plane and they're planning on going to the cabin. Like even small snippets like that, it's clear that that they had a bigger budget for this film. The acting significantly got better. I mean, especially with Bruce Campbell. I still think his acting was still like growing into becoming like the Ash of that like we all know and love from like Army of Darkness and the Ash vs. Evil Dead show. Again, for what they could work with, I thought that was still great. Just like any sequel should, like they upped the ante on it. Like back in the first film, the final boss was really just like all of the Deadites that had possessed Ash's friends. But here you actually see like technically not just one but two like final boss characters in this film. Like the first one is Nobi's wife Henrietta, who was possessed by the demon. And at the very end of the film, you also finally see the Kandarian demon, which I thought was great. Because one thing I never mentioned in my review for the original Evil Dead is that they're constantly showing the Kandarian demon like through like its own perspective, where like you see where it's basically a first-person perspective, where like you see the demon just constantly like roaming around the forest. And I've said this before, I'll say it again, this is the one and only time I'm gonna say it throughout this entire review series. I just don't like the first-person perspective when it's used for the villains, right? I didn't like it when they did it for Jason Voorhees. I didn't like it when they used it for Michael Myers. Even in that opening shot of the original Halloween, I don't like it here for the Kandarian demon. And the reason why I say this is the only time I'm going to mention it is because it happens It happens in literally every single installment of the series, in every single movie, in I think at least half the episodes of Ash vs. Evil Dead, and guaranteed it's gonna happen in Evil Dead Rise. Heck, we already saw it in the trailers of that film. So I've said my piece on it. Only time I'm gonna mention it. I'm done now. Aside from that, it's great that they actually like show the Kandarian demon like as this gigantic like demonic head or something that is actually able to fully like bust through the bust into the cabin when it feels like it. Because I did think that it was a little bit silly how the main characters like Ash or Annie are able to like get away from the demon literally by shutting a rickety old wooden door. Like, come on, it's a demon from hell. I'm pretty sure it's strong enough to bust down a door. But anyway, and actually springboarding off of that one thing that was actually hit or miss for me on this film was the slapstick humor. I'm probably gonna be on an island for this, but this is the hill I'm going to die on. There were some parts of the humor that landed for me, some parts that didn't. Like, I actually did kind of like the slapstick visual gags, like Ash's hand becoming possessed and trying to kill him, or no, I think that was it. So they got one scene that I actually liked with the humor. All the other scenes I thought were either stale or just not funny. And the other thing about Ash is that, like, I mean, we actually see him become like the badass Deadite hunter that's basically shown on the shirt that I'm wearing right now. And that's where we see him become like the Ash Williams that we all know and love, even right down to his main one-liner of groovy. So that's all awesome. And speaking of, props to, I believe it was Ted Raimi who was in the suit for Henrietta, because apparently it was incredibly hot and sweaty in there. That when he finally took the suit off, like, he could literally pour the sweat right out of the suit's boots, and that's insane. Like, what some actors do for roles. And then the only other nitpick that I got here is that, actually two more kind of nitpicks now that I think of it. So one of them is that the Book of the Dead, particularly in Evil Dead 2, it might have been the same for Evil Dead 1, but I noticed it prominently in Evil Dead 2. To me, it honestly felt like the Necronomicon was drawn in crayon, especially that one depiction of like Ash with a chainsaw and a shotgun, talking about the hero who fell from the sky. Like, it just looked like a child drew it, and I get that that the movie was made on a small budget. I mean, like, I've already praised it, that and the first film, but I just feel like it would have looked way better if it wasn't colored in and it was just like a normal sketch, even if it was a sketch in like red pencil. But that's just me. And then my second nitpick is at the very end of the film, when Ash time travels to the Middle Ages, and like he kills that Deadite who, the flying Deadite who is about to attack him and the Knights of Castle Kandar. That is the one and only effect, in my opinion, that looked incredibly dated. Like, and all the other effects, like even the stop motion one of Ash's deceased girlfriend Linda doing that dance, like those ones all looked fine to me. It's just the flying winged Deadite at the very end that's only in there for like 3 seconds that Ash immediately shoots. that is the one thing that I thought looked too cheap. But those are just my thoughts on the film. All in all, the movie's great. Unfortunately, it's not my favorite installment in the series. Those will come in later. But again, those are just my thoughts. I'd love to hear everybody else's. And that wraps up my review of Evil Dead 2 Dead by Dawn. And I will see you all in my next review, which will be of Army of Darkness. Goodbye, everyone.